The only 3 triceps exercises you need for massive arms using just dumbbells. When talking about arm training, unfortunately, many men still tend to include an unnecessary number of biceps exercises, thinking this is the muscle that will give that impressive volume to their arms. What they don't know is that the triceps represents approximately 2/3 of the total arm volume. That's right. If you only focus on straight curls, concentration curls, Scott curls, and others while ignoring the triceps, you're simply neglecting the muscle that really makes the difference in the size of your arms. If you want arms that impress when you wear a t-shirt, the triceps is your best ally. That's why today you'll see the only 3 triceps exercises you need to develop massive arms. And the best part, using just dumbbells. A perfect workout for those who train at the gym, but also for those who train at home and prefer the simplicity and adaptability of dumbbells. Before diving into the exercises, we need to understand the most common mistake that practically everyone makes when training triceps: completely ignoring the anatomy of this muscle. The triceps brachii, as the name suggests, is composed of 3 distinct parts, known as heads: the long head, the lateral head, and the medial head. Each of these heads has a different origin in the body and consequently responds better to specific movements. The long head, for example, is the only one that crosses the shoulder joint, which means that its maximum activation requires specific arm positions. The lateral head is the one that gives that visible horseshoe on the back of the arm, while the medial head lies deeper. The classic mistake is to train the triceps with just one type of movement, predominantly stimulating one of the heads and leaving the others underdeveloped. With this in mind, we've specifically selected one exercise for each triceps head, thus ensuring a complete and harmonious development of this muscle that's so important for impressive arms. Now, another important topic. When we talk about triceps, what does science say? Is it better to use more repetitions or more weight? Recent studies show that the triceps, being predominantly composed of fast twitch fibers, responds better to a strategic combination of moderate to high loads with an adequate volume of training. Research published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research demonstrated that the triceps shows greater electromyographic activation when worked in sets that approach muscle failure. This means you should choose a weight that allows you to perform between 8 and 12 repetitions, where the last 2 to 3 repetitions are truly challenging. As for the question of taking it to total concentric failure, science suggests that it's not necessary in all sets. Taking 1 to 2 sets per exercise to failure seems to be ideal for stimulating growth without compromising recovery. Research also indicates that the triceps benefits from moderate time under tension, with about 40 to 60 seconds per set, which favors adequate control of the movement, especially in the eccentric phase. Now that you have the foundation of anatomical and scientific knowledge, let's move on to the 3 exercises. Exercise 3, triceps kickbacks. This movement is exceptional for isolating and developing mainly the lateral head of the triceps, that part that forms the famous horseshoe on the external posterior part of the arm, giving that muscular and defined arm appearance. The triceps kickback is particularly effective because it keeps your arm stabilized in a position that restricts the contribution of other muscle groups, allowing greater isolation of the triceps. Additionally, it places the triceps under constant tension throughout the movement, especially when you maintain proper technique. To execute the triceps kickback correctly, start by holding a dumbbell in one hand. Bend your trunk forward at approximately 45 degrees, keeping your spine neutral and knees slightly flexed to protect your lower back. The working arm should be parallel to the ground with the elbow bent at 90 degrees. This is your starting position. Now, keeping your upper arm absolutely still, fully extend your forearm backward, pushing the dumbbell until your arm is fully extended. In the final position, you should feel an intense contraction in the triceps. Hold that contraction for a second, really squeezing the muscle before slowly returning to the starting position, controlling the weight throughout the eccentric phase. The descent should be slower than the ascent, around 2 seconds to lower and 1 second to lift, maximizing time under tension and stimulus for hypertrophy. One of the most common errors is swinging the body or moving the elbow during execution. Remember, the only movement should occur at the elbow joint. Your upper arm should remain parallel to the ground and as stable as a rock. Another frequent error is using an excessively heavy weight, which leads to compensations and drastically reduces the effectiveness of the exercise. It's preferable to use a lighter weight and execute the movement correctly than to sacrifice form for ego. Also note the tendency to let the wrist give way during extension. Try to keep the wrist neutral and aligned with the forearm throughout the movement. Regarding the ideal programming for triceps hypertrophy, based on what we've seen about the physiological characteristics of this muscle, I recommend 3 to 4 sets of 8 to 10 repetitions for the triceps kickback. Remember the research we discussed earlier. The triceps responds well to moderate loads that allow you to get close to muscle failure in the last repetitions. Select a weight that makes the last 2 to 3 repetitions truly challenging, but without compromising technique. Take a 60 to 120-second pause between sets to allow partial recovery. This will keep the metabolic stimulus elevated, favoring hypertrophy. A valuable tip is to do the first sets until almost failing, and only in the last set really go to total concentric failure. After mastering the basic technique, you can add small pauses in the contracted position to further increase the stimulus for the lateral head of your triceps. Exercise 2, lying triceps extensions. The second exercise in our sequence is a true mass builder for the long head of the triceps. This head is the largest of the 3 and the only one that crosses the shoulder joint, which means that to fully activate it, we need to position the arm above the head. That's exactly why the lying triceps extension is so effective. When you extend your arm above your head, you put the long head in an ideal pre-stretch, maximizing mechanical tension during contraction, a critical factor for stimulating hypertrophy. Proper development of this portion of the triceps is fundamental to giving that impressive thickness and volume to your arms when viewed from the side or back. To execute the lying triceps extension correctly, lie on a flat bench with your back supported and feet firmly planted on the floor. Hold a dumbbell with both hands, using a diamond grip. That is, keep your hands close to each other at the ends of the dumbbell. Fully extend your arms above your chest, keeping your elbows pointed forward, not outward. This will be your starting position. Now, keeping your upper arms stationary and perpendicular to the ground, slowly bend your elbows to lower the dumbbell toward your forehead. The movement should occur exclusively at the elbow joints. Lower the weight until it's close to your forehead, without touching it. At this point, you'll feel an intense stretch in the back of your arms. Maintain control throughout the eccentric phase. After a brief pause in the stretched position, extend your arms again to return to the starting position, strongly contracting the triceps at the top of the movement. A common mistake that many people make during the lying triceps extension is allowing the elbows to move apart during the movement, opening to the sides. This significantly reduces tension in the long head of the triceps and can overload the shoulders. Your elbows should remain pointed forward throughout the exercise. Another frequent error is using momentum or excessive arching of the back to lift the weight, especially when it's too heavy to be properly controlled. Remember that this is what we call an isolation exercise. The movement should occur exclusively at the elbows. A particularly dangerous technical failure is letting the dumbbell descend too far beyond the forehead toward the back of the head, which places excessive stress on the elbow and shoulder joints. Keep the movement within a range that allows constant tension on the triceps without joint pain. The ideal programming for the lying triceps extension would also be 3 to 4 sets of 10 to 12 repetitions. And remember, since this exercise places the elbows in a potentially vulnerable position, it's even more important to prioritize technique over weight. Select a dumbbell that allows you to complete at least 10 repetitions with good form, where the last 2 to 3 repetitions are truly challenging. The intervals between sets can be a bit longer here, about 90 to 150 seconds, to ensure sufficient recovery and maintenance of proper technique. This exercise tends to produce a strong burning sensation in the triceps due to the accumulation of metabolites, which is a positive sign that you're effectively activating the muscle fibers. To progressively increase intensity over the weeks, focus first on perfecting technique, then on slowly increasing the number of repetitions, and only then on increasing the weight of the dumbbell, always maintaining impeccable execution. Before we continue to the first exercise, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Having constant access to correct and science-based information is what will make you progress in the long term in the world of bodybuilding. Exercise 1, overhead triceps extensions. The third and final exercise of our triceps trio is the overhead triceps extension with dumbbells, an extremely effective movement to develop the medial head of the triceps. This is the smallest of the 3 heads, located in the deep and inner part of the arm, but don't be fooled. Its proper development is crucial to give that appearance of density and detail to the triceps as a whole. The unique advantage of the overhead triceps extension is that it places the arm in a position that particularly emphasizes this often neglected head, perfectly complementing the two previous exercises to ensure balanced development of all parts of the triceps. Additionally, this movement allows for an excellent mind-muscle connection, facilitating the perception of the specific contraction of the medial head. To execute the overhead triceps extension correctly, you can stand or sit on a bench with back support. Hold a dumbbell in each hand and raise your arms above your head, with palms facing each other. Keep your elbows pointed forward and positioned close to your head. This will be your starting position. From there, keeping your upper arms absolutely still, bend your elbows to slowly lower the dumbbells behind your head, descending until your forearms are approximately parallel to the ground, or as far as your mobility allows without compromising the position of your elbows. You'll feel an intense stretch in the triceps at this point. Then, contract the triceps to extend the elbows and return the dumbbells to the starting position, focusing on strongly squeezing the triceps at the top of the movement. It's crucial to maintain control throughout the exercise, especially in the eccentric phase, to maximize muscle recruitment. One of the most common technical errors in the overhead triceps extension is letting the elbows move apart or move during the exercise. Your upper arms should remain stationary, with elbows pointed forward and close to your head throughout the movement. Another frequent error is using dumbbells that are too heavy, which inevitably leads to compensations such as excessively leaning the arms forward or using momentum to lift the weight. Remember that we're seeking isolation here. Many people also make the mistake of not lowering the weight enough, limiting the range of motion and, consequently, the stimulus for hypertrophy. On the other hand, forcing an excessive range that compromises the position of the elbows is also problematic and can overload the joints. Find the balance that allows a good stretch of the triceps without joint pain or discomfort. With regard to ideal programming, I recommend 3 sets of 12 to 15 repetitions for the overhead triceps extension. As this exercise involves a more controlled and isolated movement, a slightly higher repetition range tends to provide the best stimulus for the medial head. Time under tension is particularly important in this exercise. Use approximately 2 to 3 seconds in the eccentric phase and 1 to 2 seconds in the concentric phase, really feeling the work in the triceps. The intervals between sets can be moderate, about 60 to 90 seconds, maintaining a good balance between recovery and metabolic stimulus. An advanced technique that works very well with this exercise is the partial repetition at the end of the set. It works like this. When you reach muscle failure in complete repetitions, do some additional partial repetitions in the upper half of the movement to really push the muscle fibers to the limit. This adds an additional stimulus for hypertrophy without excessively increasing the risk of injury, as long as it's used in moderation. And if you're a fan of workouts using only dumbbells, we're showing right now on the screen a video of how you can have a complete workout for the biceps, also using only dumbbells. Thank you for watching this far, and may God bless you, my friend.